Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Formula Racing League Pure Sim Gear GT3 Masters, and it's season 10, and we are rapidly barreling towards the end of this season. Last week we had a 90-minute race at Kyalami, a real highlight, but now it's round 5, and we're off to one of the great circuits today, previously an airfield, home to British Formula One racing and sporting some of the best racing in all the world. It's Silverstone. So tonight, bringing you all the action from the commentary box, and on behalf of 00 Raven Comms, my name is George Cook, and I am joined by none other than Rob Barker. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, George. Great to be back in the comms box once again, and a warm welcome to all those in chat and watching around the world.
Good to have you here, as always. Back to our usual format for tonight's proceedings. After a 90-minute special race last week at Kyalami that proved to be very exciting to watch. Some of the highlights you would have been able to see earlier in the broadcast. We have, of course, 4 classes of racing in the GT3 Masters. It's Pro, Silver, Pro-Am and Am categories, but in this live stream, we will be covering the Pro drivers, but once again, a combined grid, so we will have the Silver category drivers today, which will switch things up once again. Prizes for the victors in each category is a lovely pair of Pure Sim Gear sim racing gloves, so a big thank you to the sponsors, Pure Sim Gear. So over to you, Rob. What are we in for today, and how are things looking out on this wonderful circuit?
So tonight, George, back to the normal format as you have just aforementioned, the Kyalami being a 90-minute race last week. We are back to normal, so a 60-minute practice, which the drivers are steaming towards the end of that 1-hour practice. We will have a 20-minute qualifying session, 10 minutes for the pros, 10 minutes for the silvers, and the race, 60 minutes of action at Silverstone. We'll get underway 20 past the hour UK time, so it's 20 past 8, which is approximately in about half hour's time. What else do we have? So yes, my apologies, mandatory pit stops, refueling, and refueling not allowed in this race, so I'm getting a little bit mixed up with those two because it was allowed last week, but there is a mandatory tyre change for this one. Weather out on track, it is looking very warm. It is very, very warm in the UK at the minute, so we're looking at about 20 degrees track temp at the moment, 20 ambient as well, but it definitely feels a lot warmer than that, George, here, I can tell you that. But with that said, let's take a look at the standings as we lead into round 5. George, up to you.
Brilliant. Warm in the UK? What is this? Nonetheless, that's going to make some excellent track conditions out there. Warm circuit conditions, nice. Like that. It's going to get a lot of grip for these drivers around Silverstone. So, as Rob said, over to the standings, and you're looking right now at the top, about 11 or 12 or so on screen right now for the Pro category. So Krzysztof Stachecki stays in first position with the standings despite the P8 finish last time out at Kyalami. Max Leinard is now back in the top 10, a good P2 finish last week. Rubia takes the 3rd spot in the standings. Bit of a comeback from a great with a great P4 result at Kyalami. Grigory Ivanov currently in 4th in the standings with a big win at Kyalami last week. A very strong drive. He led the race from start to finish. Very impressive drive, and that's bringing him right back into the competition. Nico Veldman drops the Kyalami round, only managing P13, 5th overall now in the standings. Benjamin Eck continues his run of good drives recently. 6th position, P5 last week at Kyalami, a driver to keep our eyes on this week, I think. Oleski Pachenko, nonetheless, drops down to 7th in the standings with a P10 finish at Kyalami, not his week last week. P8 goes to James Cowley, enters the top 10 in the standings, I believe for the first time, with a P6 finish last week. Alex Zakdal, the brilliant drive to a podium P3 last week, shoots him all the way up to the 9th position in the standings. And last but not least, it is Ruslan Bezelhoff, who makes an appearance in the top 10 in 10th position. And now, that was just the Pro category. I'll quickly talk to you guys about the success ballast. So the ones getting success ballast today will be Ivanov, 25 kilos, Leinard, 20 kilos, Zakdal, 15 kilograms, Rubia, 10 kilograms, and Benjamin Eck will round out the success ballast with 5 kilos. Rob, over to you for the silver category.
Super close in the silver category. Omar Rolano Mason with a 10-point advantage at the top at the moment. He sits at P1 in the number 89 Ferrari. And it's Andrei Fedotov in P2. P2 result last time out as well, making it a 1-2 for the Ferraris. Dave Goodway, podium last time for him, P3 for... round 3 was a P3. He slots into P3 in the standing championships at the moment. Lewis Robinson P4 for the Brit in the BMW M4, but tied on points of 109 points with Dave Goodway. So all to play for there is Louis Pithavers in P5 at the moment, 105 points, and race winner out in Kyalami last week, Nuno Gomez. Top 10 finish puts him in P6. It's Sten Hillhorse, currently P7, but not likely to be driving with us tonight, George. Craig Hill, 94 points for him, currently P8, and he will be looking to push forward. It's Krolo Mikos, 83 points for the Ukrainian driver, and hot on the heels with 82 points, Nigel Longdon rounds up the top 10. Success ballast for this evening. Louis Pitavers will take the 25 kilo after his race win. Andrei Fedotov, 20 kilos for him. Robinson will be carrying 50 kilos of ballast. Francois Tassien will be carrying 10 kilos, and Graham Potter will be carrying 5 kilos.
That was a great battle last week out between Pitavers and Fedotov. They had a battle that basically lasted the entire race, wasn't it? 90 minutes at each other's heels. It was brilliant. So nonetheless, we're looking forward to seeing if those two will battle it out here today, 60 minutes at Silverstone. And of course, we've been looking at the pro category as well. Ivanov, Stachecki, still got everything to play for, and we're just wondering if Ivanov is going to be able to bring out maybe a slightly more consistent performance today, and that would really help him out in the championship standings. But it is, of course, Silverstone, and this is one track that has some pretty mega history, and actually goes back well before it was a Formula One circuit or a GP circuit or a track at all. It's got history back through into World War II as well, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But yes, let's talk about Silverstone, Rob. So track length here, 3.6 miles of some of the best corners and the most exciting racing out there in the world. That's 5.8 kilometers for those who do things in kilometers. I was about to say something else, but I held my tongue there, Rob. Founded, though, in 1948, and the current layout is from 2010, the layout you're seeing on screen right now. Located, of course, in North Hampshire in England. 18 corners, 8 to the left, 10 to the right, and almost no elevation change, only about 11 meters across the entire site, which is pretty interesting, actually. There's not a lot of up and downs in this track, but it's made up for in some beautiful, beautiful corners. So built on the site of a World War II airfield, of course, Silverstone first hosted the British Grand Prix in 1948, a race which attracted a reported 100,000 spectators. That's 1948, just remember. 2 years later, in 1950, Silverstone was chosen as the venue for the first race on the inaugural Formula One World Championship. And the track is one of only 4 Grand Prix from this year, from the first year of the World Championship, to actually remain as part of today's F1 calendar. And I have to admit, I miss the old New Zealand circuits, you know, the one down the Christchurch, the one up in Taupo. They only lasted for a few years, but here, Silverstone, this has lasted the ages. The others, of course, being Monaco, Spa, and Monza, still being from the original calendar. The layout's undergone some pretty significant changes, though, over the years, mostly in a bid to reduce speed and increase the safety. There's some corners that were introduced, some that were changed, some of the dynamics changed. They almost lost the rights to the British Grand Prix, but managed to keep that going. They're slated to stay until 2024 at the moment in Formula One, but they certainly don't just focus on Formula One. There's a whole bunch of racing that happens on this circuit, including, of course, the likes of the Silverstone 500, the British GT, GTM, I think, comes here as well. MotoGP is a big one, and Rob, you'll probably end up talking a little bit about that. You're much more knowledgeable than I am on Silverstone. So they've also got a bunch of experiences here that you can do. Come here for track days, circuit experiences. I think they even do some public driving here occasionally, Rob. So over to you, mate. You know a lot more about this place than I do.
Yeah, absolutely true. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this isn't my favourite track, George. It's one of the first circuits I ever visited growing up. Just a short 30, 40 minute drive down the road from my hometown here in the Midlands in the UK. And it's my first, probably one of my first experiences of racing on a circuit, and seeing cars turn in at turn 1 here tonight, Copse Corner, from the outfield viewing area is just something else. You see F1 cars on the TV take that corner, and it's flat out, or next to flat out with a heavy fuel load, but quali stints will definitely be flat out. And when you see, you don't really get the sense of speed until you are trackside, and watching those cars come around that corner is nothing short of spectacular. But yeah, definitely a track that I'm very, very fond of. I know you have Bathurst, George, but this one is certainly is mine.
Good. It's good to have passion for tracks, isn't it? And yeah, being the home sort of race, I suppose, in the way for Formula Racing League. Although there's a couple of other British tracks. You've got Snetterton, Donington, you've got Alton Park. So there's still some good options there in terms of British racing. But Silverstone is sort of the big cahoon in the field here. It's the one that everyone looks forward to seeing, racing at. It's definitely got the most interesting corners here, the most memorable corners, let's put it that way. And we will go on board and do some quick laps as well while free practice is finishing off. We've got another 3 minutes in free practice before we jump into our 20 minutes of qualifying. And just to bring everyone up to date with the information on qualifying, we will have 10 minutes of silver class qualifying like we did last time at Kyalami, followed by 10 minutes of pro qualifying here in season 10. So just FYI on that, we will be going onto the circuit in just a moment for the remainder of free practice, and me and Rob will start to nerd out about this brilliant circuit. So Rob, let's head over there now. I think we're even on board right now, so let's get down on track and go through what is one of the most amazing circuits out there on the track, where the times are already looking in the 57s, which I can tell you, my best time here is about 57.8, I think it was, in a Ferrari, ironically, and we're currently on board now. Although for some reason I'm not getting any sound coming out, so let me very briefly fix that problem. I think I know exactly what's going on with that, and then we'll be back on board. Rob, what's your favourite corner here? What's your favourite corner here at this place?
Ooh, it's a difficult one to choose, because when you think about the Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex, that's always spectacular to view from the stands on the outfield there. But Copse is one of the standout corners for me. It just, when you have that childhood memory that just doesn't go away. Seeing an F1 car of that as well go around that corner, it just blew my mind. Even to this day, myself and my cousin, who's a very avid race fan as well, we were at Silverstone just a couple of years ago for the F1, absolutely scorching weather, lovely weather, and then 1 month later back for the MotoGP, torrential. It rained all weekend. But yeah, seeing the F1 cars come around that corner, it's just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
It's something else, and I can tell you, having done a fair amount of GT3 driving here, it is just a full commitment corner. It's probably the most fun I've had on any GT3 circuit as the first few corners. Speaking of which, we've just been on board with Ivanov here in the Ferrari. He's just gone through Copse at the start, through the Maggots Beckett's Chapel section, down the Hangar Straight, and he's just gone through Stowe Vale and through Club now, and now moving up towards the Hamilton Straight. So I believe that's been named.
Correct, newly named Hamilton Straight.
Yes, that's right. I think it's very recent actually, because once he got the, I think it was the 6th or the 7th, or maybe it was his knighthood. I can't remember exactly which event it was for Lewis Hamilton, but it was in fact, yes, named after Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, it's a nice little one, isn't it? And then into this
originally the International Straight.
Okay, I didn't know that. So, yeah, okay. So the international, because that would have been where most races would have started previously on the other circuit layouts, yes?
Yeah. So it's originally called the International Straight, and it got renamed to the Hamilton Straight. But yeah, I can't remember the reasons why.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe there's a World Championship element there, the Formula One World Championship element there, worldwide, international. Maybe they started here at some point in one of the seasons, I'm not actually sure, but that's a good little stat, that is. So just goes to show, I mean, I'm not gonna start being that guy that talks about Lewis Hamilton in any derogatory way, because actually he's a fantastic racer. and you've got to give it to him.
Phenomenal.
He's just amazing what he does in the cars, in the Formula 1 cars. So just to round out that lap, we'll go back on board here as we go through the farm, village and loop area, which has just gone through. Very tricky little section. You go down towards the Wellington Straight here. This is Wellington Straight, cool, because they was literally used to, this is where the Wellington bombers used to take off from. It's still just as bumpy as the pilots remember it, according to those who have flown those planes and driven around the track, which few in number these days, unfortunately, but nonetheless, it's a bit of history there that's going to stay. The World War II essence of this track and the airfield nature of it never going away, which is one of the things I absolutely love. So, Rob, why don't you take us through a full lap here on board with Szczecki?
So, Szczecki into turn 1 at Cops Corner, makes his way through the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Now it's left-hander, decreasing in speed. Each corner gets that little bit tighter as he goes. Oh, we're out of time. But yes, that last one does get a little bit tighter, and then they can open up the throttle pedal down the Hanger Straight, which is into Stowe, of course, which is turn 7 this evening.
Okay,
I just want to report, George,
yes.
I don't know if anybody else is having issues. I've just put a little tweet out. Twitch is rather playing up tonight, and quite a few people are struggling to actually watch streams right now, so hopefully that will resolve shortly. But yeah, it does seem to be difficult watching streams right now.
That is absolutely not ideal, and that would explain why we have not too many people on the stream right now. So I'll tell you what we'll do, so I'll double check a couple of things on this side, make sure we are still going live. It does look like we are. We
are definitely live, but it's taken me about 15 minutes to get into the FRL broadcast, but not only the FRL broadcast, like any broadcast. So I don't know whether there's some minor technical issues on Twitch side, but yeah, I have resolved this end, and I think what that glitch was, I think we are through it, so we will carry on regardless.
Good. Oh, crikey, good spotting there, Rob. Well done. That's I would not have been aware of that, I'll be honest, because I do not hang on the notification side on Twitch as much after getting a little bit overwhelmed previously with just notifications coming left and right. But we've got Alan Brown in the chat. Welcome in, mate. Welcome in to everyone who is watching. Apologies if you weren't able to get into the early parts of the stream. I do recommend, of course, that you go and have a little look and check out the start of the stream. We've had a couple of new graphics and a few things, and lots of information from our very knowledgeable Rob Barker on the circuit here, Silverstone. Rob, we were in the middle of a lap for you, so I'd like to find someone. As soon as we find someone who's going across the line, I think that's going to be Mikos, who will be coming round, I believe. Yes, this is... yes, so let's go on board again, and let's continue your track guide for us.
Okay, so turn 1 they go, which is of course the legendary Cops Corner, which again I am very fond of, into the Maggots and Beckett's complex. As I was saying, it's decreasing in speed as you work your way through the left, right. Last corner is probably one of the trickiest, which is Chapel. Exit there, get on the power as early as possible down the Hanger Straight, which is about the most elevation change you're going to find here at Silverstone. It is downhill into a very heavy braking zone for turn 7, which is Stowe. Often quite a familiar place for a couple of incidents, George. Hopefully we don't get any tonight. F1 pit entry on the right hand side there, but this is Vale Corner now, which is an excellent spectating spot. Just up on the banking on the left there is probably one of my favourite spots as we make our way through Club Corner. If you're in an F1 car, that would be the last corner of your race, and the checkered line would have just been crossed. This is now the Hamilton Straight. A flick to the right through Abbey, a soft left-hander into Farm as we make our way up to Village, which is quite a tight right-hander, and then flicks back to the right-hand side of the track to try and get a good position through the loop. Foot down to the flat Aintree, absolutely flat out through this one. And as you mentioned in the run up there, this is the Wellington Straight, and yeah, it used to be part of a runway where the Wellington bomber would indeed take off. Brooklands, tricky left-hander, quite easy to lock a wheel up on that one and understeer off as we make our way round the right-hander, long right-hander of Luffield, and now it is full throttle on the throttle hard, chopped the corner at Woodcote Corner and across the line for a beautiful lap of a 1:58, which is actually a very good lap.
It's very, very competitive, in fact. So we chose the right person to go on board with. Well done to Mikos there. Great time. And thank you for that little track walk there. Appreciate that. There you go, folks. We're going to be leaning on the shoulder of Rob today in terms of the Silverstone knowledge. It's a beautiful, beautiful circuit. And yeah, qualifying has begun. So we've got about 5.5 minutes left here in qualifying for the silver class. Then they'll be coming into the pits. And the pro class will then go out. So that's why you're only seeing the silver drivers on the left-hand side of the screen going in. And I'm just noting here, Alan Brown saying he's been at work since 3:30 a.m. Got home with 20 minutes of practice. He will be skipping qualifying and starting at the back. So there we go, Alan Brown giving us a little update on his situation. Thank you very much. Welcome in, of course, to everyone in the chat, everyone who's watching around the world. Lovely to have you in here, and we're going to be going live we are live. We're going to be going to the race in about 15 minutes, but at the moment we get to watch the spectacle that is qualifying. So running through your top 10 in the silver class as it stands right now. Mikos, brilliant lap, but Pithaviers has just gone and nearly dethroned him. 12 hundredths of a second between Mikos and Pithaviers. So Pithaviers, we know how competitive he is. We are looking out for him today, and maybe a little bit of a fight between him and Fedotov, assuming Fedotov is actually on the grid, which I don't think he is, actually, just looking through the track list right now.
He's currently P21. I don't think, he hasn't set a time yet, George, so
yes, okay.
maybe a lap invalidation, but he is on the grid, so let's hope for a battle, because that last one last week was phenomenal.
It was indeed.
Definitely fancy some more of that.
I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them side by side through Maggots and Chapel, to be completely honest with you, because that would be very exciting. Both very respectful in the Kyalami race to each other. So it was some great racing to behold. And yes, so we have 45 on the grid today, because we do have both the silver and the pro categories out there driving. So this is a great size grid, Rob. 45 drivers out here, 60 minutes of Silverstone with 45 drivers. I am very much looking forward to this, because the start of the race, they are going to be all over the place. By the way, Pithaviers has just gone and done a 57.6, which is absolutely mega. Tassin does a 57.9, and there we go. We've got Amir there, who's done a 157.952. So the top three, as it stands, Mikos getting slightly edged out by those three. These 57s are incredibly competitive from the silver class drivers.
Yeah, Pithaviers was very quick in practice, looking at the times towards the end, and well within the mix with the pros. As I think we've alluded to this quite a few times. Don't be put off by the fact that this is the silver category. Amongst the pros, there are some extremely quick drivers, and Pithaviers showing what he's worth there. But Amir did take P1 momentarily. He held it for about 2 corners as Pithaviers takes the pole position, or provisional pole position, off him with a 157.6, and then Tassin knocked Amir just 1 spot down. Ferrari looking very strong at Silverstone this evening, though, George.
Yeah, the Ferrari is traditionally quite a strong car here with the way that it exits the corners. They usually run quite a high TC just to get the power down. That really does help a lot. It's got good top speed down the straight, and it's very nice into the corners as well. Got great turning with all that aero. And by the way, here on board with Pithaviers again, going up by 0.3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish of a second. So finding time everywhere. That lap time is going to improve, and this is really impressive from Pithaviers. There'll be pros tonight that will not get into this low part of the 57th. Loses a little bit of time through Luffield, but comes through Woodcote for the final time here, and this will probably be the second to last lap. Goes across the line, improves by a massive chunk, 157.3. Wow. That is super impressive. And he's already finding time. Oh, no, he's not. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on board. Fedotov, by the way, is also up by 0.4 of a second, but still sitting in the 58. So got a bit of work to do to catch up with Pithaviers out on track.
Yeah, I think this race is going to be all important for those the top runners in the silver category, George. It is very, very close at the top of the championship, and these drivers are going to want to pick up as many points as they can. Just to reiterate, Omar, who's currently P6 in the qualifying session, is leading the way, but only 10 points. Fetitov P2, Goodway P3. Pitavers is P5 currently, but he's only done 2 events, George. P2 in round 3 and a P1 last time out brings him to 105 points in the championship, all to play for, and very, very close in the silvers.
Yeah, it's good to see. I think we will see Pitavers if we can keep up this kind of pace throughout the last couple of rounds, which is, of course, we do have this round included, 3 rounds left in this season, so it's all starting to really heat up, and it's been a brilliant season so far. It's going to be actually a bit of a shame to see it end after a couple of weeks, Rob. We'll go into season 11, I'm sure, later on this year. That is, I do know that is in fact queued up, so we will be, of course, back doing that. But it's been a brilliant season so far. Kyle Lamy has been a real standout for me. I think that was an absolutely brilliant 90-minute race, but we'll see what Silverstone has to offer, because Silverstone is I just know how good the racing is across the line.
Ooh.
Goes Mikos into the 57 for the first time.
Yeah, superb lap from Mikos. Just 10,000ths of a second off the P2 position as well. It's a very, very tidy lap, in fact, from Mikos in the McLaren as well. And he stuck himself in quite a large, extensive Ferrari sandwich.
That's right. Yeah, and so we will now have the pro category drivers come out on track. So that's just a little heads up for everyone. That is the transition now is happening. All the silver drivers will have been asked to return to the pits, as you can see now. So we will be waiting for our lovely pro drivers to come out of the pits and get on circuit and get their laps started. And yeah, so, I mean, as it stands right now, Pitavers has put in an unbelievably competitive time. We've got 4 silver drivers in the 57s. That's Amir, Mikos, Tassin. Good to see Tassin up there, by the way, and Pitavers. So those 4 really, really competitive times. I think we will see a pro driver on pole here today. That's what we would assume at this stage. But a 57.3, I have to tell you, is incredibly, incredibly competitive. So it would be good to see what these drivers have to do. Giafrida already backing out. Oh, sorry, that's a silver driver, of course, Giafrida. So Checky, that's who I wanted to be on board. That's who I wanted to double click.
So Grafida just popped his car into P12 momentarily. He was on a final flying lap. And Jones in the 792 also promotes himself into P6. Obviously, that was the last of the laps, and they will be returning to pit as soon as they possibly can. The time has elapsed for the silver drivers, and it is time for the pros to show us what they've got.
And they are backing up once again into Luffield. This is never what you want to see as your driver coming in. And Sacheki there taking a very wide line, trying to get the power down as early as possible to maximize the time on the straight. I've actually been in a situation where I've maximized it too much. I got a penalty. I got track invalidation just for going too fast through the final corner, which was very odd. But thank you, admins of that race league, for keeping us on our toes with that. No cheating in those qualifying sessions. Not saying there's any cheating going on here. It's just fair game at the end of the day. That's what it is. And welcome in, Dan. Welcome in to chat. So we will be keeping an eye on how these lap times improve. They're going out for their first real hot laps now, and so the deltas will not be representative at the minute, but we will keep an eye on them as they go through their second and third lap. 7.5 minutes of qualifying remaining before our 60-minute race here, and it is time for the pros, the pro category drivers, to get out on track, get their lap times in, and they've got quite the hurdle to jump in the silver category, because a 57.3 is the benchmark time here set by Louis Pitavers in the silver class, and I'm not sure who's going to be able to do it. I really don't know at this stage. 57s are very competitive. We might see a 56 here today, but that would have to be an absolute lap. An absolute lap, Rob.
Yeah, just before, it would be an astonishing lap. Just before the broadcast went live, I was keeping a close eye on the pit wall. Oh, someone in the dirt there, George?
Yeah, so that looked like
Rodriguez.
Might have been Rodriguez there. Yeah, so someone just decided that nope, they ran a bit wide, and that was all she wrote, unfortunately.
just keeping an eye on the times during the practice session just before the broadcast went live. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, this will be on Pit All Live, so you can keep up with all the action, all the live data as well. Stachecki was still the quickest. I can't remember the time as it comes to the top of my head, but he was up there with the quickest as we see Ivanov pop his car 0.02 of a second, so it's still perseveres for now. Stachecki goes P3 as Feldman goes a P8, so that time Cowley up to P13, I said 0.02 of a second there between P1 and P2. Garby improving his first lap time into P9 for him. Keys goes P14th as Zach Dahl pops his car into the P5 spot. George, it's all kicking off now. These times are flying in.
They sure are. I mean, to see the silver category split like that, we've still got Mikos down in 7th, and Pithavier is still holding on to the top spot. I had a feeling that it might have been close. I wasn't expecting it to be that close. 0.02 of a second, there's nothing in that at all, and we know how quick Ivanov is in that Ferrari. So whether it's due to the Ferrari speed or Pithavier's, maybe it's his favorite track as well, Rob, who knows. But it's certainly a very impressive time, and Ivanov, though, is starting to improve already. We're going to be keeping an eye on the Delta, as he already found 0.2 in this lap. So he needs to hold on to that for the remainder of quali and really bank this in. That will give him, it will be very close to a 56 time here. But all he needs is 0.02 of a second, so you don't actually need much to take pole here. But there will be a few other pro drivers looking at that time for Pithaviers and going, okay, I need to really put in the lap. I don't want to be starting behind a silver category driver. You know, some people get competitive like that. So we'll see how many pro drivers can put in a really, really good time. But it's still up by 0.2 of a second as Ivanov does go through the final corner here of Luffield. And let's see if he can hold that time on exit. He's actually dropped the time just a little bit, so he's not going to be as far ahead as we thought, but this will be good enough for pole position right now. As Nopek goes first, and Ivanov goes P2.
Yeah, Nopek with an absolutely phenomenal lap. Shame we missed that one with the timing boards lighting up there where they were, but Stachecki now in P2 as well. 157.187 for Nopek, that is P1 currently in the McLaren, number 48 McLaren. Stachecki now P2, superb lap from him, also 1800th of a second, 157.2. Ivanov now demoted to P3 and Pithaviers into P4 as Keys improves massively over his time, promotes his car right up to P7 with Zach Dahl just in front. Yeah, all going off at the minute. Again, we have just the 3 minutes and 20 on the clock. There is still time to get another lap in and try and improve those times, but super close at the top right now.
But look at Ivanov. He's already found another 0.3 on the circuit. This could be the lap that gets him into the 56s. And at the moment, Nopek coming out for another lap. So they'll be doing an out lap. They'll be on a hot lap again. And Stachecki as well will be going around. He's currently on an invalidated lap, so we'll have to wait another minute or so before he gets into another hot lap. So all eyes now are on Ivanov. Can he hold it through the village and the loop? Yes, he can. Through Aintree. Looks like he got a good exit as well. That's going to really help him down the Wellington straight. Exit. Yeah, he's really just got the power down. Look how planted this Ferrari is. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, making his way down now towards Brooklands. Tips the car in, still looking good. Still gaining time as well, George, for nearly 0.5 of a second now. Into the 0.5 of a second as he works his way around Luffield. Gets a little bit loose, but gets a nice early exit. Power is down. It's that time coming down a little bit, but I think it's going to be just enough.
Yes, it is.
Definitely enough for pole. Ball 156.920. What a phenomenal lap from the 406 Ferrari driver. Ivanov, round of applause, sir. That is incredible.
Yeah, take a bow into the 56s. First time we've seen do that. And yeah, I mean, this is the incredible thing, though. That lap time 56 is brilliant, but Pithaviers is still only 0.38 behind. So it just goes to show how quick the silver driver of Pithaviers is. around this circuit. Nopex just had another little bit of an issue there. So go McLaren, come on, get yourself up there. He's got another couple of chances to get this lap done. Currently not improving. Stachecki also just returns to the pits. Rubia still sitting in 5th place. I don't know if Rubia is actually going to be coming out of the pits anytime soon, but Zach Dahl is over here out on a out lap. So we'll be coming around the final few corners, going on to the hot lap. So we'll see the last laps of this qualifying starting to happen. We've got Bez Pilotov, sorry, who's just gone up to P6 with a brilliant lap time there, 157.6, and was really up on his time and already finding more time in that Audi. Not an easy car to deal with today. Oh, and that's Nopek. Nopek's gone round, unfortunately, and ruined his last chance at qualifying, so Nopek will not improve in the remainder of this session.
Yeah, just 38 seconds remaining now. Riding on board with Bespilatov, I believe, who's currently a couple of tenths of a second, just over a tenth of a second up. He needs about 3/10 of a second to promote himself above, and Rubia in P5 at the minute, and he's not quite found it yet as he makes his way down to Vale. So he's going to need an excellent second part of the lap to improve grid position. Still a very, very strong lap. He looks like he's starting to collect up some traffic there in front as well. So there's still some movers and shakers around on the grid at the minute. A couple of people improving their time as the qualifying time has elapsed. The drivers will get to finish their lap one more time, or their lap that they're on, as the 68 car comes over the line right now. Doesn't improve the 187. I'm just trying to find the drivers' names. I can't find them on the pit wall right at this moment. But Artemenko improves his time. He's now into P17. The 402 next across the line will be
Verona,
P11, improves on his lap time. Excellent lap from Verona there with a 157.9. It's all still very close. P12, sorry, for Verona. P12 doesn't sound like a very good qualifying position, but those top 12 drivers are all within a second of one another, so it's super competitive at the top, and all still to play for.
correct. So this will be the last lap for Ivanov as well. He's not up on his time. It doesn't need to be at this stage because Nopek, Stachecki, in Rubia, Bespilatov are all done on their laps, and so I don't think he's going to have any real competition here. Might be able to find something in the last section of the track, but everyone else is essentially in. Guardbeat's just gone and done a brilliant time there and puts himself up into P8. He was in P17 just before, so that is a brilliant improvement.
157.7 from Garby, George. 157.7, massive improvement. So that's top 10 for Garby this evening.
Correct, but Ivanov will come across the line. He's the last car to do so for this qualifying session, and it is getting a little bit cloudy and dark out there, isn't it, Rob? This could become a little bit interesting, couldn't it? We'll keep an eye on that. It is 9:21 p.m. on the circuit at the moment, but I think we'll be switching over to daytime race, so we'll keep an eye on that. But that is your qualifying as it stands, and we will be going out on track. And no, look at it, it's nighttime here today, Rob. Wasn't expecting that, actually, I've got to be honest with you. So we might have kept a closer eye on that, if I'm completely honest with you. But nonetheless, this is going to be your race today. 45 drivers on the grid, pro and silver categories, of course. We've got about a minute and a half before we go through. So just running quickly through your top 10. We won't do everyone on the grid because that is a lot of people. 45 to go through. Maybe just a few too many. But starting off, of course, Ivanov takes pole position in the pro category. Nopek in the 48 McLaren. So two McLarens actually after this Ferrari at the top. Nopek and Stachecki taking P2, P3. And we've got Pithaviers, our top silver driver. He's miles ahead of the next silver driver, who's down in P11. So very, very good there from the Ferrari driver of Pithaviers. In Rubia, we'll take P5 in the Lamborghini. The Audi driver of Bespilatov, late charge up the grid. Very good lap time from him. Zach Dahl in the Mercedes AMG, the 331 car, looking fierce and ready to go. Guardby, great lap right at the end. Second car to come across the line at the end of the race. He'll take P8. Cali will take P9. And then, of course, we've got Domokos Quiche as well. So we'll let the rest of the grid sort of just flow on through. But Rob, predictions? Anything you're looking out for in particular tonight? Is there something we need to be aware of? Do let us know.
I will be particularly keen to see how Peter Veers does at the top there. But Stuchecki was quickest, I believe, quickest in practice. So qualifying time not quite as quick as he was in the practice session. So expect to see a race on, but it is all very, very close between those top few.
Yep, that's right. It will be a very interesting little start here. Of course, they've got the
race.
Oh, there we go. Got you back. Got you back. We lost you for a second there, Rob.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you back. We got you back.
I do apologise.
No worries.
Yeah,
so...
I was just saying there, George. Obviously, Peter Veers. I'm interested to see how he will get on up in amongst those drivers. To check it a little bit slower than he was in practice, so not all done there. But the qualifying times are extremely close all the way down. I mean, even up to P13, it's still all within a second, just a couple of tenths of a second, a couple of thousandths of a second between the top drivers. So I'm expecting this one to be very close. It is an hour-long race. It's a long race. Track temps are cooling, so I'm expecting this one to be a very good one.
Should be amazing this start as well. 45 cars on the grid, and we've just gone through everyone up in the grid, so that's brilliant stuff. We will, of course, stay on board with our leader, and yeah, it's 10 p.m. out there on circuit at the moment. 60 minutes will be the race length. They've got to do a full formation lap, and look at this grid. How about that? Look at that. That is some brilliant views here from the helicam. So thank you to the broadcasters for giving us that view, because that is quite amazing with all the headlights. You can see right into the background. Still some cars have yet to actually come through into the Beckett's Chapel area, and we're nearly already at the end of the Hager Straight. So beautiful, beautiful views. Of course, get ready. If you've got any questions, please put them down in the chat. We apologize for any of the disruption to the stream due to some issues that Twitch has been having today. Of course, never ideal, but something that's totally out of our control, sadly, so nothing we can do about it. And Ivanov just absolutely launching it there. Try to get some heat into those tires, which is going to be absolutely crucial here. 19 degrees track temperature, as Rob was just saying. So that will continue to cool as we get further into the night, but luckily for them, it is optimum track conditions out there, so there'll be plenty of grip available, at least at the start of the race. One mandatory pit stop today. No refueling is allowed, so these will be some pretty heavy cars, I suspect, here, Rob, and they'll have to take quite a lot of fuel, because it's not exactly a fuel light sort of track, this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of full throttle through the Silverstone circuit. Some very, very quick corners. Even like through the Maggie to Beckett's complex, it's still quite heavy on the throttle, and then obviously the Hanger Straight, super long straight, tipping into Stowe and back on the throttle, full throttle, as they make their way round through turn 12 right now. Oh yeah, I am excited for this one. I wasn't expecting a night race. I'm not gonna lie, but it looks absolutely stunning out on track right now. Excuse me.
Quite all right.
A hiccup there. Looks absolutely stunning out on track now. Seeing those headlights working their way round the grid. Sorry, I just get in awe when it comes to Silverstone. This night race now with the lights, absolutely jam-packed grid, George. This is going to be phenomenal racing.
That's to be brilliant. Yeah, the start itself is going to be absolutely critical. You don't want to be going side by side through cops. It's not the place you want to do that. And then the same, as soon as you get into the Beckett's Chapel area, you do not want to be side by side with anyone at that stage. So a good start here is going to be absolutely crucial, especially for the likes of Ivanov, who set the fastest time in qualifying. Not Beckett's, Stuchecki, and those McLarens will be looking to get ahead as soon as possible and use their maneuverability, use their tires as much as possible to get ahead of Ivanov, who we know is going to be quick. We'll be keeping an eye on the top as well, and Peter Veers lines up on the second row of the grid. So they're all forming the 2x2. So 2x2 they go into the final corner now through Luffield and Woodcote, and we're going to be going live with green flags momentarily, folks. So stay tuned, buckle up. Make sure you've got your British cup of tea, British beer, some sort of beverage at the ready, because things are about to get very, very cool, very, very racy, And we're about to start for the Season 10. It's round 5, of course, Silverstone. And for the FRL GT3 Masters, sponsored by Pure Sim Gear, we're about to go green here. First 60 minutes of racing at Silverstone, led away by Ivanov as we go across the timing line for the first time. Green, green, green. We're away. We're racing. And it's a good start for Nopek, Stachecki, and Ivanov. And Nopek's already going round the outside there of Ivanov and does manage to make the move happen. So he'll take the lead of this race, will Nopek. Great start for the 48 car. Ivanov has to slip in behind. He's got no option but to do so as they go through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel for the first time in this race. And what a start there from the driver, the McLaren driver of Nopek. He's made that position. I said that was absolutely critical. And look at the cars behind. Some are going 3 wide, 2 wide into the first few quarters. Brilliant stuff from then. What a view we've got already. The 99 car already looking very out of shape, the 999 car at the back of the grid. And then we've got in Rubia, who's managed to get up ahead of Pithaviers. Pithaviers has lost out a little bit in the first few corners, unfortunately for the silver driver. But in Rubia, up into P4 currently, sitting in behind the slipstream is Stachecki. They're going for a little bit of a move there. No, so looks like Nopek got a little bit squiggly on the exit. It's going to bring Ivanov into it. But again, you don't want to be side by side through Abbey. That is the bravest place of the circuit when you're single file. But doing it 2 by 2 is not a good idea. They're very brave through there. Ivanov takes a slightly wider line. Nopek opens up the inside of Farm Curve and into Village and the loop for the first time we go. What a brilliant opening lap, and nearly into the back of Ivanov goes to Stachecki, and Rubia holding on to these 4. Great stuff so far. Brilliant start. I don't even know who else has had some maneuvers. We've got some issues around the track as well. The 272 car, 68 car as well. So some antics, unfortunately, happening. We'll try and capture that on replay a little bit later on. But right now, it's all about this man, Nopek, who's got Ivanov all over the back of him as we round out the first lap. Or will Ivanov look for a move into Luffield? No. Thinks better of it, but a great start from all the drivers. Woo! Rob, take over. I've got to catch my breath.
Yeah, a couple of incidents towards the back of the grid. My grid timing, you showed me a vehicle 187, which I cannot see. I think that is a disconnect maybe. But we have Nikkonen right at the back of the grid there with the 909 McLaren, and also the 68, which is Spirit. I think Spurla, I think in the 68. We've got a lot of change going on. A couple of incidents early on. My incident board has lit up, unfortunately, so there's a bit of contact towards the back of the grid as we were spectating the front. But yeah, Nopek, absolutely phenomenal start from Nopek to take the lead of the race through Cops. Ivanov didn't have the response that he needed. Couldn't really commit to a move through the Maggots Beckett's complex. Did the right thing, just tucked in behind. It is an hour-long race. It doesn't need to be won on turn 1. But Nopek, what a start from Nopek, gaining the lead.
Yeah, these 3, or 4 I should say, because Rubia there starts setting the fastest lap of the race in lap 1. We're only 4 minutes into this race and we've already got action all over the grid. Unfortunate for those at the back who got slightly caught up, but I'd say, considering there's 45 cars on the grid, that was not a bad start at all, and Ivanov is really putting some pressure now on the likes of Nopek. Stachecki's run very wide though. Stachecki's run very, very wide, and that's going to let Rubia go on through, and Pithaviers does have a little look, but no chance there. So I think Stachecki there had a bit of an off at the Abbey corner. Very unfortunate for him. And oh, look at this, bumper to bumper, right on each other. Ivanov's going to look up the inside into Brooklands. Can he make something happen? No. Nopek closes the door once again. And good defensive driving there from Nopek. He's got to hold it. Oh, careful. Oh dear, nearly runs wide, and a little bit of contact there between these 2 drivers. It's getting very, very spicy up the top of this grid.
Yeah, super close racing. It's always certain parts of the track very difficult to pass on, trying to keep it as close as they can. A little bit of contact as we see the 406 of Ivanov taking the fastest lap of the race. Obviously it's 159.1, very heavy cars at the moment as well, George, so need to be careful through those corners. It looks like Benjamin Eck dropping back quite a few number of spaces there. Don't know whether he's had an off further back in the grid, but all starting to settle down a little bit. Drivers are starting to find a little bit of space on track, spreading out. We've got a long way to go. We're only just 5 minutes into this race, but Nopek currently out in the lead, 2/10 to the good. Now half a second to the good now as the timing sheet updates, but yeah, it's lot of action there, George. A lot of action there, and I think we're going to be in for a busy night, mate.
We certainly will, and Ivanov just got and set the fastest lap at 1:59.1, which is very, very good. 0.3 of a second faster than Nopek, who's currently leading the race. A little bit of a battle going on back here for 21st and 20th position between Kies and Mikos, and all these drivers at the back of the grid really, really tight as they go into Vale and Club at the minute. Looking great. I mean, there's going to be action all around the track. We're trying to obviously do our best to keep an eye on as much as possible. Benjamin Eck has, I believe, just lost another position there. Jones managed to get back ahead, and they've got Verona on their tail as well, who we know is very, very fast. And then Rubia now at the top of the grid, getting very close to the back of Ivanov. So these three at the top, and Stachecki, who's still holding on after a little bit of an off at Abbey in the previous lap, all still hanging on quite nicely. But in the background there you can see Pithavias, Zakdal, Gabi, Cowley and Bespelatov not too far behind as well. So that's your top 8 and top 9 and 10, Bespelatov and Tassin at the moment doing some great work. I'm just looking around. We've got the likes of the Lamborghini of Leinard, who is very high up in the standings for the Pro Championship at the moment, back in P12. He had a great showing out at Kyalami, but so far not able to recreate that magic from Kyalami just yet. But as he said, very long race to go. Another fastest lap being set there by the 720 car no, that's Stachecki. So Stachecki is taking the fastest lap at 1:58.345. Nice little number.
Yeah, Stachecki. I'm not sure what is happening here, but I can see Fedotov falling down the grid, George, towards the back. He is now, I think, has he gone? Rodriguez also dropping down the grid. Fedotov has just dropped a massive number of places. He was quite close in a battle with Rolano Mirza, which is important for the title there in the silver category. But Fedotov now down in P31, so he's dropped a significant number of places in whatever has occurred there. I didn't see an incident, but yeah, that's going to be a big one for the battle for the silvers.
I think we might have a replay of this. So this is Fedotov here going through, I believe that's Cops or Abbey. And yeah, he gets tagged there at the side. Oh, tagged again at the back, and he's just losing places all over the place. So unfortunately for him, he's just gotten in the weeds then. Oh, look how tight it is. Oh, he's been hit. Yeah, he's been sent. So that's Fedotov, and what happened to him there, he got absolutely sent off the grid, sadly for him. That's why he's back in P30. Very unfortunate for that driver, because we were really looking forward to the Pithavias Fedotov race to continue, but unfortunately it will not.
Yeah, that one's going to be quite. That could play quite the impact on the standings, George, in the championship. Those two are very, very close at the moment in the championship. I'm just reloading my sim grid. So we have currently, obviously, Mesa in P1, but Fedotov P2. It was 10 points the difference, and they were racing side by side for quite a while. As we sort of get towards the 10-minute mark of the race. But yeah, it's going to be a big one for Fedotov. He would have definitely wanted to be up in that battle with Mesa. So yeah, unfortunate for him. He's got some work to do now.
Sure does. We've got a little bit of timing information coming up on the screen right now. A little comparison between Nopek and Ivanov. And you can see Nopek's just staying ahead that last sector time. Not looking particularly happy, I'll be honest. So the previous lap for Nopek, 58.6, and for Ivanov 58.5, and they're still fighting over the top position. Ivanov has not let Nopek go at all, and Rubia and Stachecki in a similar battle just behind, which is absolutely brilliant. So this battle for the top 4, these 4 are starting to pull away. There's no real bottlenecks happening behind. It's just these 4 have got the pace. They really, really do. They were all in the low 57s. Almost all of them, except for Rubia, were ahead of Pithavias at the start of the race, and Pithavias, of course, still holding on to P5, which is still very impressive. Tassin, though, Tassin is up, I believe. How many positions? Let me just check this. He's up a position. Was P11 in qualifying, was Tassin, now second in the silver category. Now up to P10, so looking very, very healthy there. And just in terms of the biggest winners around the grid, we've got 6 positions gained for Panchenko, Leinard 6 positions gained, Chris Jones has gained 9 positions so far. Then Benjamin Eck gained 7 positions. So you're right, absolute charge up the field at the moment for those drivers. Biggest winner on the grid, though, is 15 positions gained for Carl Van Hoon. He started 38th, now running up in 23rd. the 13 car there. And unfortunately, the biggest loser of all of them, unfortunately, is going to be Mikos, who's fallen 21 positions, or now 20 positions, as he gets ahead of Hill. So unfortunately for Mikos, had a real issue there. I don't know what happened with Mikos, actually. I might have to try and find that on a replay if we can possibly do so.
Yeah, down the grid, losing a lot of places. I think I can confirm Artemenko is also now out of this race. I'm not sure if there was an incident involved, but on the pit wall, his car has been stationary between turns 14 and 15 for
sorry to interrupt,
quite
Rob,
some
but
time.
Fedotov has gone off again and had a massive time out there at the Brooklands Luffield area. I don't know what's happened. We'll try and get a replay of that too. But an absolute disaster again for Fedotov. So, oh dear. Well, that might be a little bit of a commentator's curse. I'm not quite sure on that one, but really unfortunate for that driver. Just not having a great day out so far at Silverstone.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. He definitely going to be brewing this race. Very good opportunity to be side by side with the leader, which is obviously Meza at the top spot, but P2 in the championship, and he's going to be losing points. Just checking on the P3 position is Dave Goodway. Is Dave with us tonight? I haven't seen Dave Goodway in. He's currently P19, so and he's now behind Rolano. So yeah, the battle, as I was going to say, is kind of done. It's definitely not, because P1 and P3 now just 2 seconds apart.
Yeah, it is closing up once again. We've got about 6 battle packs or so evolving at the moment. We've actually got the first bit of blue flag traffic up ahead of these two as Ivanov does try to look around the outside of Brooklands. It's not going to work, unfortunately, because Nopek's going to run into the exit of that corner towards Luffield and gets a good exit there, so we'll maintain the 272 car as the lap traffic up ahead, so that will be getting slightly in the way of this battle. Hopefully moves out the way, but still a few corners ahead, so shouldn't be a problem there. For the 7th time we do go through Cops here tonight, and looking very solid. It's been a great little race, good little battle so far between all of these drivers. Keeping an eye down the grid as well. As I do believe the reason why Mikos went all the way down is a couple of contacts. I was just looking for the replay. We just saw one just before. So through Maggots Beckett's Chapel, just getting a bit of contact with the car ahead. Not the car ahead's fault at all. So a little bit of an unforced error there for Mikos. Really unfortunate, because it did qualify miles up the grid, which was very impressive, but does not hold onto that. So Dominikos Kies here, looking for a move on Gomes, who's ahead, silver driver, and Gomes has been driving very nicely in the McLaren so far, seeing some decent lap times, and Kies will try and make their way past to get up, and Verona as well, getting very close as well to the back of Benjamin Eck. So these two on a charge at the moment, being held up slightly by Jones in the Porsche ahead, but Jones driving very nicely, so good to see that all popping off at the moment. But back on top, it's the same. I mean, you almost don't want to watch it, because it's the same thing that's been happening the last few laps. They're absolutely glued together at the top, Rob.
So this is where I was about to ask the question, George. I mean, you're probably definitely more versed in ACC sim racing. Obviously, I have many hours in the game, and I'm not quite used to. I haven't done many 1-hour races. If you're Ivanov now, sitting P4, setting some. We've got a driver off track. There's Verona. There's Verona in the 402. He's taken a little bit of a detour there through what looks like Abbey. I think it should go to Abbey now into, yeah. But yeah, just as I was saying, if you're in a 1-hour race, we're just coming up to the 15-minute mark. You are Ivanov sitting P4. Your closest rival is behind you, and the leader is even further behind you. Nopek currently not really in the championship standings, P21 at the moment. How does that affect you as a driver?
Well, I'd hope that I'd be knowledgeable enough about the standings that I realise that that is not a fight that you need to be taking any risk for whatsoever. So generally speaking, it's good to be really aware of where you are in the standings, who you're fighting out on track. If Nopek's really fast this time out, great, good stuff. Cool. If he's not right behind me in the standings, then even P2 points are going to be absolutely worth taking. Maybe focus on fastest lap, things like that. I would say at this stage that Ivanov just needs to keep this tidy, stay ahead of Stachecki no matter what. He'll be thankful that Rubia is just sitting behind there, holding up Stachecki, who does hold the fastest lap at the moment, Stachecki. So my thought process on that, I mean, it's just about awareness of where you are in the standings, and then managing your race to accommodate for that. You know, some people do like the concept of just, you know, go for the win every single time regardless. You know, obviously that's more points. It's the way to go. It's what most racers will do. And that, oh, is that up the inside? That is a look up the inside, but there's contact as well. Stachecki, a very cheeky move there on Rubia into Village in the loop. That wasn't particularly cricket, I'd have to say, Rob.
Yeah, looked a little bit dicey, that one. It did look like an opportunity. Oh, as it looked like there was going to be some more contact there, as Rubia does not want to give up this battle. There's not much room on the inside there. Gives it up for the moment, working their way through Luffield. But yeah, a little bit elbows out there from Stachecki. Didn't give him much option to get out of the way there, but we'll leave that one to the stewards. We see someone in the pit there.
Oh, that is
and
Ivanov.
It also looks. Oh, it is Ivanov.
Our race P2 in the race has decided to come in to the pits reasonably early as well. That's very early, in fact. So there we go, Ivanov in the pits already. So okay, so that's another thing to be aware of here, is the different strategies that you can do. So there's 3 different general formats here that you can do for the race. You can run short then long, you can run half-half, and you can run long and then short. Now, I don't know exactly whether the undercut or the overcut here is stronger. What I suspect that Ivanov is thinking now is, hey, I know that I'm faster than Nopek, but I just can't get past him. Let's go in early. Let's come out in some, hopefully, clean air. So it's a bit of a risk with such a big grid here today. Hopefully get some clean air, get some really good lap times out, okay? And then hopefully do essentially an undercut on Nopek, who's still going to be going at the same speed as before. This is a bit of a disaster, though, for Stachecki and Rubia, because neither of them will have slipstream going forward for the next while, unless they can catch up to the back of Nopek. So that's going to be a bit of a disaster for their race. They would really prefer to have that slipstream going forward. I know we just saw another car being off, but we've got to keep an eye on where Ivanov comes out of the pits. Do you have a bead on that at the moment?
So I haven't at the moment. I've got Pithaviers in the pit. Let me just.
Okay, I found him. So
over.
He's currently up in P36 at the minute. So that's where he is currently. So he's right down the back of the grid, and unfortunately for him, he's got quite a lot of traffic in front of him. I don't think that was necessarily the best time to come out, unfortunately. By the way, stop go 30 for Mikos, who's coming into the pits as well. That'll be for potentially speeding, potentially track limits. And look at Ivanov, he's flying through the field at the moment, going for these overtakes. 2 in 1 does Ivanov does there. Wow, Longdon and Rodriguez had no chance there. Ivanov on an absolute charge. He knows, he knows, Rob, he knows that he has to get past this traffic. If he's got any hope to do an undercut and run for 41 minutes in this race with the tyres he's got, these are the laps that count, where the tyres are fresh, where they've got plenty of grip. The track temperature hasn't cooled down much more than it was already, so he's going to go for a move on Nikinen now, which is a lovely name, I do love that. Through Luffield goes and gets the move done, so he is slicing, he is like a hot knife through butter, slicing through the rear of the field. He now does have a bit of clean air to be using. Domokos Kiss is now in the pit as well. No one else is in the pits, and Stachecki continues to hold on to the top time in this race, but he's 2.3 seconds back from Nopek. No slipstream for you.
Indeed. So is this going to be a pitch strategy masterclass from Grigory Ivanov? It did seem a little bit odd. 8 laps done, 15 minutes, just coming up to the 16-minute mark in the race before he took his pit stop. Still 10 minutes away from the halfway mark. It looked like a bold one, George, but he is in clean air now. And he can get his foot down and try and dig away and eat away and try and get that undercut to work. Nopek still out in front with a couple of seconds advantage over Stachecki, who is most certainly pulling away from Rubia right now. Pitova still doing an absolutely stellar job as well, though, Judge. P4 at the minute with quite a healthy gap to Zach Dahl. So. Lots of battles, lots of racing going on, and I think the strategies are going to close it all back up towards the end of the race. But yeah, some interesting stuff going on out on track at the moment.
Just on board now with Louis Pisavilla's 211 car. And yeah, as you say, I completely agree. Still doing a very, very good job. Overall will be P5 at this stage, but currently in P4. So we did have our P2 driver pit just beforehand, and yeah, we're just on board at the moment and watching his inputs and having a little look at how he's doing, how that Ferrari is handling the circuit. He's currently the top Ferrari on track, technically, as it is right now, sort of provisionally. I'm just looking ahead as well, though, because these two are still sort of finding a bit of time on each other. We've got a yellow flag out there as well. It's Goodway. So Goodway has... Oh, Goodway is... Oh, dear. He's facing the wrong way.
Yeah, so that's definitely not the way you want to be facing.
Yeah, that was a very close call there for some of the drivers around. 34 car will keep an eye deal there. We've got Sopko cleared for Mikos as well. I'll keep an eye and see if we can get a replay of what happened to Goodway there. But that was a very scary moment for some of the drivers on the grid. Very close now between Panchenko and Leinard, two very fast drivers. They're high up in the standings for the pro class, and that was nearly right off the track at Abbey for Leinard, wrangling that Lamborghini around the track, that bull. Yeah, but the McLaren of Panchenko, all a little bit of battle here with Bespilatov, who's just ahead. So this is the battle essentially for P9 going on right now, and it's been a good little battle between these chaps so far. Just looking back here as well. So main battle pack is actually now sort of being established at the front of the grid, all the way back to the 172 car. Then we've got another one from the 51 car back to the 29 car. Then we've got 792 car. Who is that? That is Jones. He's in the doldrums at the moment. Of course, I do owe Jones screen time for something I promised in chat earlier on. So there you go, Chris. There's your screen time, mate. Enjoy it, lap it up, have fun. He's on another beautiful livery. We might see him back in his pink livery tomorrow for the GT3 nightclub.
Yeah, the fantastic livery that is normally on there. But yeah, we go for the FRL livery tonight on Jones' vehicle, which is looks absolutely stunning. I do say so. Oh, that was
Unbelievably close. I think that was Potter. Nearly took out the rear end of Broughton. Braked very late into Brooklands and nearly went right into the rear bumper of the other BMW there. So it was that was a close one.
I'm also seeing Goodway dropping a number of places as well, George. He's now dropped about 5-6 places in the last couple of seconds, so I feel like he's had an off. Sigurd Longden, Nikon, and now taking going past as well. So I don't know if that's an off track for Goodway there in the 34 Lamborghini. Ivanov is starting to find himself in and amongst some traffic. He has dispatched of 2 or 3 cars already. He does have another couple of cars in front of him that he's going to want to get out the way as soon as possible.
So I think Goodway might have hung up the coat, unfortunately, for this race, because he had a lot of damage on that car, and it looks like it might have just been a little bit too much. So I believe the team has decided to retire the car. It's a bit of a shame.
He's in the pits now. He's been in there for quite some time, so that will be a retirement from the 34 Goodway, which is you know, never good to see. I'm sure he'll be back next week with another stellar performance. He performed really well last time out. Goodway did.
You're right. We're just having a look here because we've got Ivanov who's making moves now on Broughton. Ivanov is being a bit cheeky here. He's actually flashing his lights at the other drivers, which you're not supposed to be doing, ideally, because they're not blue flag. None of these drivers are blue flag. Ivanov has to fight through this grid. He's pitted. No one else has around him. So it's, you know, none of these drivers have to get out of Ivanov's way. He has to do it with pure speed. And is that another instant? Yes, it is. Oh, we've got a car in the barriers. That's less in the 112 McLaren, and oh, is struggling to get started as well. That car looks absolutely ruined by all accounts.
Yeah, that's off at Cops. Yeah, so he'll be absolutely beached up in that corner.
Does manage to get it going again, which is actually pretty amazing, but whether or not he's got enough time to get around to the pits, no, just resets to the pits, because there is going to be a lot of damage. By the way, Ivanov has set the fastest lap time of 58.167, so he is on a massive charge now after the rear end of Stouter in the P22, so he's making up some pretty good time here, Ivanov. I think he's in a good position at this stage, and with the fastest lap, that is going to be lapping faster than Nopek at the top of the grid. So it's something to keep a very, very close eye on, and we'll be wondering when Nopek is going to decide to come in for a bit of a pit. And that is the use of a speed token right there. Got to be careful on track limits now, Ivanov. Don't want to be taking too many risks, but as we said before, he's got to find that clean air, and when he gets to these battle packs, he's got to navigate his way through as soon as possible, get into the clean air, otherwise he's going to be compromising that early pit stop and all the tyre life that he's going to be using up at the start of this stint here. It's going to be rapidly disappearing towards the end. So even if he does end up getting ahead, he might be under pressure towards the end of this race.
Yeah, he's coming up to once he's dispatched of south to there, the 275 Ferrari. He has got a bit of free air at the minute. Next driver up the road on track is the 999 Ferrari of Woodward, but there's quite a gap between them, and we are fastly approaching the halfway mark, George. So we may start to see a few drivers deciding to pit, as Benjamin Eck is one of those drivers. He decides to make his stop. He's now in the pit lane. And I think we will start to see a few more drivers as well thinking about making that stop. We are coming up to 33 minutes remaining. Zach Dahl also in the pits, Cowley pits, Panchenko pits, Benjamin Eck pits, and Lees has pit. Oh no, Lees has probably retired after that incident. So there's, yeah, quite a few drivers now opting to get some fresh rubber on track. It's all heating up now, George.
Yes, it is, and luckily not cooling down, because the track temperature is remaining a nice stable 19 degrees Celsius out there. So it's a warm British summer night out there at Silverstone. Cloudy, of course. You know, you're never going to have any moonlight coming out onto a track like this in Britain. Of course, that sea fog sort of comes in, but luckily no fog low to the ground, which is really, really good to see. So Chris Jones, I saw a yellow flag there for Chris Jones. I think he might have run a little bit wide, but my eye at the moment is on Nopek, who's still managing to hold a 1.7 second gap back to Stachecki. So doing very, very well in that McLaren. I happen to know that the McLaren's tyres do pretty well overall. Good tyre life, generally speaking. So obviously they're doing enough at this stage to keep it in the window. And Rubio is sitting about 2.6 seconds behind Stachecki. They've got about 6.4 seconds, additional seconds back to Pithaviers, who I believe is now in the pits. Yes, so we've got Pithaviers and Gardby. By the way, Gardby is currently up in 5th position. So brilliant, brilliant stuff. We've got a few cars, obviously, that have pitted, so we'll have the order start to switch around quite significantly at the halfway mark. But just to bring everyone up to speed while we are seeing pit stops happen around the grid, you are watching, of course, the FRL GT3 Masters, sponsored by Pure Sim Gear at Season 10, Round 5 here at Silverstone. And we're now 29 minutes into our 60-minute race. We had a banger of a qualifying 10 minutes of silvers, 10 minutes of pro. Split grid here, of course, pro and silver. And in the commentary box, of course, bringing all the comms tonight for 00 Raven Comms. It is myself, George Cook, and Rob Barker. And Rob, we've been having a good time. We didn't expect a night race. The conditions are very, very nice. And we've seen some incredible laps here tonight at Silverstone.
Yeah, it's been an interesting race so far, and these pit stops are now starting to come in thick and fast. You see Louis Pithaviers, top silver driver at the moment, takes his stop. Gardby is having a fantastic race, also takes his stop. We also see Tassim and Omar Rolano Misa in the box as well, which could be crucial for both pro and silver category. Obviously, racing in the separate categories at the moment. But it's yeah, starting to really get quite spicy. Longdon also in the pits. I'm trying to keep an eye on the early stop of Ivanov. Currently lapping round in the 1:57.6, last lap, fastest lap of the race for him. That's 2 consecutive fastest lap of the race. Whereas Nopek in P1 currently in the 1:59s and slowing. So those tyres obviously starting to feel. Oh no, I think Nopek has boxed. He is indeed. Nopek pulls the pin. Stachecki takes the lead of the race, and Nopek is in the pits at the halfway mark, George.
Brilliant. So it is starting to all happen at the top of the grid. We're just having a little onboard of the battle that was going on there. Broughton was battling with a few others on track and made a really, really good move there on, I believe that was Leinard, but we'll see later on. But then unfortunately got tagged at the end of that and then got spun around, so very unfortunate for him. Stop go 30 there for another car on the grid. We will try and find who that is. It's Longdon, who's further down the grid, unfortunately. But all eyes right now are on the stopped car that is Nopek. This is going to get very, very interesting because where is Ivanov right now? Ivanov is coming through
the last
Woodcote.
corner.
Yeah,
through
so
Wood corner he goes, and he does get the job done, George. He's passed into Cops now.
there we go.
And Nopek is still in the box. He's on pit exit right now. So I think that is job done. It is indeed. So the undercut has worked.
Yeah, massive job done. And he's taken fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, Ivanov already 7 laps deep into his second set of tyres. And Nopek fresh tyres with about 15 laps to go. I cannot say it's all over yet. It's definitely not all over yet.
No, and there's 3.8 seconds behind for Ivanov, between Ivanov and Nopek at the moment. Ivanov is going to have to continue to putting in those lap times as fast as possible. That's going to be absolutely critical. We've got some more yellows around the track as well, but I think that might be Pithaviers. Hold on, Pithaviers going very slowly in the circuit right now. I wonder if he's had a bit of an incident there with Cowley. Yes, looks like those two have had a bit of an incident there, sadly. And I think we're going to get a little onboard from that as well. So let's quickly check that out. See what happened between Pithaviers and Cowley, and into Maggots Beckett's they go side by side, and that's an interesting line from Pithaviers there, cutting the corner completely. And then what happens here? They come together on the exit of Chapel there, tag each other. Oh, they're both around. Oh, that's a big incident there on the straight, the hangar straight. Crikey. That's a disaster for Pithaviers because he was up running in P5 and now will drop down. So it looks like the undercut is easily the strongest strategy here. The problem, as you said before, is going to be how long do these tyres last into the race? And they will last quite a long time. You'd be surprised how long tyres will last, but at the same time, it's all about how much degradation you've got on them, how much are you pushing the car. And Ivanov, as you said, had to push the car in a huge amount to make sure he was doing the lap times. He was lapping in the 57s. The grid will now sort itself out. Currently leading the race at the moment is actually Veldman, but that will all start to change around at some point too. But Nopek still about 3 seconds behind. It's all up to Nopek now. Can he keep onto the back of Ivanov, keep him honest, do some really, really good lap times, and potentially get ahead of the Ferrari driver at the later part of this race?
Well, interestingly, George, Stachecki did just pit as well that previous lap while we were watching the replays there, and has come out back in P3 for now, but the gap has seemed to have significantly closed. So the undercut was very powerful for Ivanov, but it seemed like the extra lap for Stachecki hasn't done him any negative damage. He seems to be right back there with Nopek, just a couple of seconds behind. So yes, the multiple strats are starting to play out, and with 26 minutes to go, just over 26 minutes to go, it's still very difficult to call this one.
Interesting little thing here, I just noticed. Nopek's pit time was a 33.9. Ivanov's was a 32.5, so there's 1.4 seconds of extra pit that Nopek has done. I wonder if he maybe repaired a bit of damage or took but took a little bit of extra time to get his car stopped. So something about his pit stop was a little bit slower as well. So it wasn't just Ivanov's undercut speed. There was also 1.4 seconds worth of on-track speed just sitting in the pits, unfortunately for him. So certainly not ideal. Wasn't the best of pits there, unfortunately. And just looking on board here with Leinard in the 172 car in a battle with Gardby. Gardby, who's had a really, really good race so far. He's up one position. Leinard, though, is up 10 positions at the moment. Veldman, our provisional race leader, now comes into the pit, so that'll be one of the last people to do his pit stop, mandatory pit stop. Was up 12 positions, that'll change rapidly, but Leinard went from P18, now in P8, so having an absolutely brilliant race out right now in the Lamborghini, and right on the back of Gardby.
Yeah, superb race from him so far. Leinard doing a fabulous job. There's a couple of tenths behind Garbini at the moment, and all to play for. There's still plenty of time. In this race. I'm just having a quick look at their pit windows, George. So Garby ran a little bit longer into the race, 28 minutes, 14 laps for him. Max Leinard did go a bit earlier, just 24 minutes, 12 laps for him. So 5 laps completed so far on his second stint, but having an absolutely worldie of a race, gaining plenty of positions on track. Veldman, however, I think he's currently on pit exit. Yeah, he's just taken his pit. He's still the current leader of the race. I'm just waiting for my screen to update. Veldman can't be the leader of the race. That's impossible.
No, he's not. Don't worry.
Okay, my data is just lagging a little bit behind, and it's telling me Veldman is the leader of the race, which cannot be true.
No, he's down in P14 at the moment, so he's kudos things. Unfortunately, it takes a little while for the system to really get itself updated, but it is what it is. Yeah, but Veldman, he's actually had a good race too. So far,
very good, very, very good race.
So solid effort by, I think, everyone really. I mean, excuse me, everyone's had a pretty good time out. Just looking at Cowley getting very close to the back of Benjamin Eck now. It's the battle for P12 going on at the minute. And we were just on board for the battle for P6 with Leinard and Gardby just before. But this is getting very spicy between Cowley and Eck. And we know that Cowley was involved in that incident with Pithaviers early on. Pithaviers is now in P9. So was running P5 where Zach Dahl is now, but unfortunately for him, has dropped all the way down and has got Tassian on the back of him. So this is now the battle here, 1 second between these two for the lead of the Silver Championship. And something I almost feel sorry for Pithaviers. Every time something happens in the race, he had a pretty decent start and run through the Kyalami, got some distance, made a mistake, and then Fedotov was on him for the last 30 minutes of the race. Now, it does look like something similar has happened because he's had that contact with Cowley early on. Well, not early on, a few times ago and a few laps ago. And now Tassin's right on the back of him. So Pithaviers just can't help himself. He wants to be involved in the battle. I did just see a 10-second penalty applied there for someone. I'm not quite sure who that was, but we'll keep an eye around the grid to see if we can spot who picked up that penalty. Gardby now really on the back of Zach Dahl. This is the battle for P5. This is where Pithaviers was going to be fighting, but now it is Zach Dahl from Gardby, from Leinard in fifth, sixth, and seventh respectively. And just a quick note here, Rob, Nopek has not significantly improved his distance to Ivanov, sadly. Ivanov has been running in the 58, low 58 with 58.2 last lap, then 58.0 last lap from Nopek, but the gap remains at about 3 seconds at the top.
Yeah, it's. I do apologise. I've just refreshed my server there just to get the times and that updated because I was getting some rather strange information on the pit wall, which just simply could not be true. So just a quick refresh there, George. Sorry for being silent for a minute or two. Yeah, so Ivanov really making that early stop work. Currently 2.4 to the good. 2.5 to the good, out in P1 with Nopex checking just behind Rubia. Solid race from Rubia so far, not being too disappointing for him. I think he will be happy with his performance so far, a little bit off pace early rounds, but 158.0 last time round, he's certainly got the pace.
Sorry to interrupt again. Garby's, oh dear, Garby's absolutely had a moment there at Cops. He's gone basically 45 degrees sideways into Cops and had a poor exit. That brings Leinart up into P6 at the stage. And by the way, Panchenko has found his way past Garby as well. It was a very close call on the entry to Maggots. So very close one. Garby losing out 2 positions in the space of a single corner there. So sorry to interrupt Rob.
That's no problem at all. Yeah, it's unfortunate that one. It's very easy to lose. When the grid's this tightly packed, it's only going to take one of those small little mistakes and it could lose you not only one position but multiple positions. And obviously the exit speed out of Cops is really important to keep the position down into the Maggots Beckett complex. And when you run out that wide, you're always going to put yourself at risk to being overtaken. So yeah, unfortunately for Garby, running now in P8.
Oh, brilliant stuff here. Battle between these 2 drivers, Leinart and Panchenko, now going at it. McLaren versus Lamborghini, getting very, very close on the entry to Village. Doing very, very good work there to stay out of the rear bumper of Leinart, did Panchenko. So this is a great little battle evolving. Zach Dahl right now is kind of building out another lead in that Mercedes. So quite happy to have these chaps fighting behind him because he is now out to a 2-second lead. By the way, Ivanov and Nopek now only separated by 2 seconds on the grid. So we could be coming up to the point in this race where the tyres are starting to switch around a little bit. The advantage is definitely falling in Nopek's direction. His last lap was a 57.7, and Ivanov's last lap was a 58.3. So I get the feeling, oh, that was a big snap of oversteer there for Panchenko. Yeah, holds it though very nicely. Both Leinart and Panchenko running a bit wide into Cops, so that will maybe be a bit of a penalty there in terms of the track warning. You will see if they accumulate that. Of course, if you accumulate 3 track warnings and get another, you will be going to the stewards box.
Yeah, I can just confirm, George, the earlier penalty that we couldn't find the driver for at the time was the 777 McLaren of Kuzmenko. Drive-through penalty has been cleared on the 20-minute mark, so he's picked up a penalty for drive-through with track limits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think that will be probably it,
and also the 328 of Longdon also serving a stop-go penalty. That was speeding in the pit lane.
Easy to do here, actually. The pit entry is not the easiest in the world. It's on a bit of an angle, so you find yourself braking before you're actually getting into the pit lane, which is really awkward. But this battle between Panchenko and Garby now absolutely happening, which is great to see. But ooh, things are getting very spicy at the top of the grid, so we're going to redirect our attention over there because Ivanov and Nopek are getting much, much closer on grid. In fact, I think Ivanov has probably reached about the limit of where those tyres are going to be useful, at least for this window. And Nopek is now right in the mix because he is now only 1.4 seconds behind Ivanov, and Ivanov continues to set some pretty slow times out on grid, not going fast on any of these laps at all. Might be trying to conserve tyre life. And that's who's that? There's a car off the side there. Don't know what's happening there, but there was definitely a car there sitting at the entry of the Maggots Beckett's Chapel Chicane. I think that might have been Osorio. Yes, I think it might have been Osorio, but
I think you're right, George. Yeah, I think you're all right.
But yes, we're going to stay on board with this battle for P1 and P2 now, because this is starting to really, really spice up. We've got 16 minutes left in this race, so obviously stay tuned because things are going to get very, very interesting. Ivanov needs to find some more pace somehow, but he pitted, I think it was about 18 minutes into this race, so he'll be going for 42 minutes on these tyres, or 40 minutes or so on these tyres, which you know, they're gonna go through a few graining periods. Few periods where they just don't seem to activate at all, and track temperatures are still pretty cool out there with a 19 degrees Celsius, so it's not easy to get temperature back in the tyres, but Nopek doing a great job to sort of light his tyres up and really get them running. So we will be keeping a very close eye on this battle in the next sort of 6 or so minutes towards the end of the race.
Yeah, can confirm, George, Ivanov just spent just shy of 16 minutes on those first set of tyres, so he's currently coming up to the half-hour mark on the second set already, whereas Nopek did do half the race distance. So yeah, those tyres going to come into play. That gap is certainly closing. 158.2 for Ivanov last time round, 157.8 for Nopek last time round. So it's, you know, almost half a second, if not half a second per lap, with only a 1.3 second gap according to my screen, but according to stream, we're already down to 7/10, so I'm just waiting up. Yeah, 6/10 of a second now. It's just updated. So, wow, with 15 minutes to go, George, that's going to be a hell of a lot of a stint and a hell of a lot of pressure to absorb from Nopek. I wouldn't even be surprised if Stachecki could potentially start to make headway into that lead of Ivanov.
Well, as we always say, as the 172 car gets a drive through for track limits, big flash of the lights there. Please get out of the way, blue flag traffic. Move, move, move. Oh, he was on the line. Get out of the way. There we go. Okay, right. So that did definitely hold up Nopek there. That car, I'm not quite sure which, but drive-through penalty for Leinart. That's a disaster for his race. He'll have to come into the pits again in the last 14 minutes. He'll have 3 laps to serve that drive-through, so very unlucky for him there. Yeah, so it's one thing to catch up with another car. It's a whole other thing to overtake. Luckily, Silverstone is very nice for overtakes, so Nopek will have a whole bunch of chance, but that little blue flag there held him up. It's dropped him back by another 0.3 of a second, so he'll have a little bit more time to find here on track, but he's still lapping. As you guys can see on the graphics below, he is still lapping significantly faster than Ivanov at the moment, of upwards of sort of 0.8 of a second. So you can see the yellow bar on the left-hand side there. Only fastest area that Ivanov is in is, I believe, Sector 2. But other than that, that might have just been because of that blue flag.
Yeah, Sector 2 did hold him up a little bit. He was going significantly quicker. The first sector seems to be the strong point for Nopek. He's doing about 0.6 of a second.
Sorry to interrupt again, Rob. Sorry to interrupt again. Cowley and Eck have come together. Big incident down at Village for them, but also Zach Dahl had a huge incident. Zach Dahl's gone from P5 all the way to P9, so he's had a massive, massive incident there. Probably self-inflicted, unfortunately, because I can't see any incidents coming up on the board there at all. But Eck involved in a big one. Let's have a quick look and see if we can capture this on the replay camera. Here's Eck and Cowley coming in towards, I believe, Abbey at this stage. So Eck gets a reasonably good turn in there. Cowley does too. Safe through the first part of Abbey, but into Village we go. And I think that's a big, very late on the brakes. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. And there's the fact that blue flag in front getting out of the way. Didn't have to because they went into the back of each other. But Cowley massively outbraked himself there. Missed his braking zone by a country mile, sadly.
Yeah, just a passenger in that one there for the other driver. Sorry, he has been wiped out a little bit there. Maybe a bit of a lapse in concentration. It is getting well into the race now, almost 50 minutes in. It is dark. It is absorbing energy concentration. But yeah, clearly missed his braking points into that one, and yeah, spun them both round. So it's unfortunate for them. It does happen.
Yeah, we've just had Pithaviers and Tassin have just switched round. So the lead of the Silver Championship has decided to switch. Tassin has now gotten ahead in his Ferrari ahead of Pithaviers, who I think is holding some damage somewhere from something because he's just not having a good time out there, and Tassin just drove past him at the S's, so at the S's of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. So big switch around there for these two. Tassin may be on to take a victory here in the silver class, but Pithaviers is going to be fighting back, and we'll be keeping an eye on that battle. And another battle we're keeping an eye on, of course, is up the top. Ivanov and Nopek still in first and second, respectively. Veldman's just had an issue as well. Oh dear, there's an Audi off track, Rob.
Oh yes, that is indeed the yes. He nearly got tagged at the rear end as well there. So it was an accident involving the 3-1 car. And that's yeah, definitely a car that was Fedotov as well. I don't know whether he was the cause of the accident. I can't see exactly where they are on track at the moment. But yeah, that's another incident for the stewards to look at. Car 13 also involved in a incident just now, and that is the vehicle of Van Horn.
Oh dear, yes, that's also see the 999 car going very slowly as well. So a few things happening. That's Woodward. So Woodward's had a massive issue there, the FRO livery Ferrari. Cesario is sitting in the pits at this stage of the race. Mikos still having a bad day out, sadly. So just looking around the grid, Amir also having a pretty bad day out, sadly. But on the back of Fedotov, who's had probably probably one of the worst days out we can see in a while. Numerous accidents down the grid, just constant. Every time he tries to make a comeback, just immediately into another accident, it seems, unfortunately. But sometimes that is just the way of it, unfortunately. And by the way, here we go, because the race lead is now all for contention. 10 minutes to go in this race. The number 6 car has just had a huge incident as well. So some people having some pretty nasty time here at the last part of this race, whether it's tyres or whatever it ends up being. It's getting tricky for them. The 999 cars had yet another issue there. Woodward is all over the place. Oh dear, he's sitting in the middle of the track. Crikey, good on him for holding the brakes. Well done there. But nonetheless, that could have actually caught up our race lead, who actually just went past them. So Ivanov and now Nopek split by about 0.5 of a second. Nopek's got the tyre advantage here, although having a slightly worse off pit stop earlier on. Ivanov's run very, very long into this race on a set of tyres, pitting very early, whereas Nopek opted to go for about a half-half strat or thereabouts. But it's all down to Nopek. He's got to get closer. He's got to find an opportunity, and he's got to use that grip to his advantage. Now's the time to use it, really throw it into the corners. He's got a good exit there through Chapel. He might be on for a bit of a slipstream here.
Yeah, it looks a superb exit. Those tyres of Nopek's are 7 laps better of Ivanov, but with only just under 9 minutes to go. As you've rightly put there, he's going to need to close that gap and start to think about making a move soon. He is closing and closing and closing, but at the moment, George, Ivanov staying strong, lapping in the 158.4s, Nopek in the 158.3s last time round. 4 seconds, I'm making that one up. Just under 4/10 of a second gap through the last timing beam. It looks like he's really starting to pile the pressure on now, and those tyres of Ivanov's must be starting to hurt. 17 laps into the race, he's done nearly 35 minutes on those tyres, and the gap is closing and closing as he looked for a move up the inside. It doesn't get it done, but he did definitely have a look for a move up the inside as they make their way down the hanger straight towards Brooklands. That was that was scary for a moment there, George.
Oh, that got my heart going. It really did. Yeah, good point there about the tyres for Ivanov. So you saw through Farm Curve, he was running very, very wide to the right-hand side of the circuit. That only happens when you don't have the grip to hold the car in. And Ivanov's definitely starting to struggle because it compromised him to Village. That was very opportunistic little look from Nopek. I wonder if Ivanov was just trying to square out the corner and really try and force. He knows he can't beat Nopek now in the corners in terms of grip. So he's going to have to focus on the only thing that you can do on worn tyres, and that's go fast in a straight line. So Ivanov is going to be trying to square out these corners as much as they can. They're coming up to some blue flag traffic ahead. That's the 888 car. So Nopek needs to stay really, really close. He needs to be on the back bumper of Ivanov all the way through here. He can't be stuck in that blue flag traffic once again. And this 888 car needs to do some good work here and move out the way, because this is the race battle for the race lead. And that's, by the way, that's Stachecki coming in the background there as well. So he is not falling off the back of these two. If they come together, Stachecki will be right there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, he's been rubbing his hands together, hoping these two will get into some sort of battle. He has been chipping away at the times. He's done a very quick 158.1, which is the fastest of the front three runners, front three runners by a couple of tenths of a second. Still a couple of seconds, or just over 1 second, off the pack as we go through another lap, and the timing beam there resets itself, updates itself. I think he's going to survive another lap. Ivanov pulled out a little bit of a gap with the move, the opportunities he would have. Oh, we've got a car to the side as he's just pulling over for blue flags, I think.
Yeah, so I was just staying on board there with Hill who did a very good job into Abbey Village and Loop to get out of the way. So well done to him there. That's he's not interfered at all, which is good.
Yeah, superb stuff from him there, getting out the way. Obviously, we don't want any incidents passing the back markers under blue flag conditions. Done a very good job of getting out of the way of all three drivers as well, not just one at a time. So let's those guys crack on with their race. It's still to play for. We cross the line once more. 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go. We are going to get another three. I'm going to say about 3 laps more racing. It looks like Stachecki has started to slow a little bit last time round, a little bit slower than he had the previous lap, but it's all still to play for. Lap 27, 5 minutes on the clock, George.
The battle to look out for on track right now between P1, P2, P3, Ivanov, Nopek and Stachecki, and also down here in P7 and 8, which is the lead of the silver class. Pithaviers unfortunately getting overtaken by Tassin a few laps ago, and now Tassin is having to be the one on the defensive at the moment because Pithaviers is closing right up. So those are the main battles on track at the moment. So P1, 2, 3 in pro class, as stated before. P1, 2, 3 in silver class, Tassin, Pithaviers and Rolano Mesa, who's a little bit further down, P13 for Rolano Mesa, but still nonetheless having a good little time out. So your top 10 as it stands right now: Ivanov, Nopek, Stachecki, and Rubia, Penchenko. And we've got Gardby, Tassin, Pithaviers, Bespilatov, and Zach Dahl. Benjamin X sitting there in P11. And I think closing in on Zach Dahl. Zach Dahl, very unfortunate, was running P5, but yeah, these things do happen, sadly. And yeah, that was an unfortunate mistake there from Zach Dahl that put him back there. But he's still top 10, so there's nothing to scoff at in a 45-person grid. We've got more blue flag traffic ahead. The 275 car will need to be getting out of the way of this battle as soon as possible, and all three of these cars need to stay close, or certainly Nopek and Stachecki need to stay as close as possible to Ivanov. Ivanov's just gone and done a 158.5, whereas Nopek's done a 58.6. I get the feeling that there's a little bit, maybe a little bit of a switcheroo starting to happen in terms of the tie life for the McLaren. The 275 car doing a very good job of staying out of the way. Well done, hats off, good stuff. Now, that does not disrupt the lead of the race at all. So that's blue flag perfection right there.
Yeah, exactly what you want to see. This is a huge grid, and we've got plenty of battles going on up and down the grid. If you do find yourself in that position.
That's wide there for Ivanov. He's opened himself up.
Very wide. Yeah, very wide from Ivanov. Those tyres are starting to really hurt now. As Nopek.
Big incident. Stachecki's been absolutely punted off the track there by the 275 car. He tried to get past in Baggett's and Beckett's, and he's not lost any positions. And Ruby is closing up, but here we go. There's a big move going on. Nopek around the outside of Stowe. Can he hold the position? He's going to have the inside down towards Vale and Club. It looks like he's made the move happen. Ivanov's got nothing to answer with, but holds the inside into Club there. Oh, this is brilliant racing side by side by these two. Ivanov will hold the position, it looks like, because a little bit of a contact there, unfortunately. Flashing lights for Nopek. He's not happy at all. And through Abbey they go.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal stuff. A little bit of a contact there. That's it with the tyres coming down to their last legs. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. It did look like Nopek had got the move done, but obviously the corners switch position, which meant Ivanov did have at the inside line through the last corner onto the Hamilton straight. Manages to keep the car in front. Nopek not happy, flashing the lights. We've got a couple of minutes to go, which means we will probably get 2 more, might just get 2 more racing laps between these two. Unfortunately, George, I have completely lost all pit wall now, so I am commentating as I can see on the stream, which is probably not a bad thing for me, because it means I actually get to watch the racing and not just the numbers. But it's been an absolutely phenomenal race and a phenomenal battle, and I think Ivanov is pulling out a bit of a gap now. Let's just have a look at the timing beam. 0.6 of a second leader on the final lap. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the final lap of the race. Ivanov, 0.6 of the good. Nopek really pushing. We can pretty much rule Stachecki out of this battle after the earlier incident. The I think it was 275 car. I couldn't actually check which one it was, George, I'm afraid, because my pit wall has completely completely died of all info. Where are we now? Coming down toward the hangar straight towards Stowe. That gap is closing 0.3 of a second to the good, but with only just less than half of the lap to go. Nopek's going to need an absolute blinding exit here to maybe get a chance into Vale. He's not going to be able to get it done at the minute. Oh, this is going to be tight, George. This is going to be stupidly tight.
Yeah, this is getting very, very close towards the end of this race, and Nopek, that was his big opportunity just beforehand. Just beforehand, he really, you know, when Ivanov went wide, that was the big moment. Unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to take advantage of that. But here we go again into Village, and will there be an opportunity down the inside? We will keep an eye on. Yes, there is. Big opportunity, and oh, there's huge contact though. Huge contact.
And the car goes round.
Yeah. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Nopek goes very, very deep into that corner. Tries to make the move happen. Ivanov was already closing the door. Some contact between. That will go to the stewards later on. And Nopek now down in third position. Szczecki goes up into P2. And Ivanov through Brooklands for the last time, through Luffield for the last time. He is going to, without some abhorrent mistake, going to take P1 in this race. That was a very, very bold move from Nopek. Probably wasn't never going to happen. Wasn't quite close enough. Across the line for P1, a win for Ivanov. 2 in a row, back-to-back victories for the Ferrari driver. And then Szczecki takes P2, followed by Nopek. That was opportunistic, to say the least, and unfortunately did not work out for the McLaren driver across the line. And Rubio will take P4. Panchenko coming through Woodcote for the last time will take P5. Good recovery drive from the McLaren driver. Garby will take P6. Tassin will take the silver lead and a win there. First time, I believe, in the silver championship. So first in class for Tassin. Pithaviers will have to settle for P2. Bespilatov P9 and Zach Dahl will come across the line in P10.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Such a shame, George, that the last lap there ended up with the collision. Szczecki will be absolutely rubbing his hands coming around that corner going, oh, there's a car there. I'll take that P2, thank you very much. Ivanov with a fantastic victory. Fast all day. Yeah, just a little bit too opportunistic for me, that move there, unfortunately sending the car around. Hats off there to Tessin and also Pitavir as well, P2 in the silver category with championship leader at the moment, Rolano Mesa taking P3 in the silver category, Smith 4th and Jones 5th in the silvers. What a race, 1 hour, Silverstone in the night, headlights beaming. Oh, could you want any more?
Yeah, I could have 2 hours, actually, Rob. We'll take 2 hours of that, please. That would be absolutely brilliant. A couple of mandatory pit stops, refueling allowed. Oh, it would really shake things up, but you're absolutely spot on. That was an excellent, excellent race to behold, and well done to all the drivers. Congratulations, massive congratulations to all of them, because they've done incredibly well tonight. So Ivanov will take the victory here tonight. It was a good race from him. Very early pit to try and sort of leapfrog over Nopek. He did very, very well, did manage to achieve his goal, but then Nopek just fighting back all the way throughout the remainder of the race. And Szczecki there, of course, was one of those holding handicap, so the success ballast there, so 25 kilos for him on board. Ivanov was holding 10 kilos, just remember. So he's holding an extra 10 kilos throughout the entire race there. So that's very impressive from him. Unfortunately, we just lost our board there, but nonetheless, that is going to pretty much round us out for tonight. Round 5 was an absolute stonker. Rob's just been brilliant. So we'll go to the information screen here. We'll start to round out the stream, but big thank you to everyone who has been in the chat today and watching. Apologies that Twitch has been having some issues, so if you haven't been able to watch the stream before now, then please go back and re-watch the video, which will be available, of course, on the Formula Racing League TV Twitch channel. And do give us a follow as well if you've been enjoying the race action tonight and enjoying the commentary and the action out on track. But yeah, next week, September 14th, remember to come back and join us. We're going to Valencia. It's one of my absolute favorites. I'm going to be driving at Valencia next week as well. So I'll be intimately familiar with that track, and I've done plenty of driving there before. But it's a great track, MotoGP track, and GT3 cars there. things get a little bit spicy, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. But Rob, how did you find that tonight? Your favorite track, great racing out on the circuit, some moves that were some good, some bad. Final thoughts, driver of the day?
Oh, driver of the day. Oh, that's, yeah. Oh, driver of the day. You've put me on the spot now, George. Oh, yeah. Super tricky one to call at the moment. I don't think I can pick, George. I'm afraid there's so many good battles up and down the grid. I do not think I could pick a solid standout driver of the day. There were many. Massive congratulations to Peter Veers for his quali position. If you could get a driver of the day for quali, that would be the one for me. Fortunately, went backwards in the race, but managed to pull it back to P2, so superb recovery from him. I get really invested with the silver and the ram categories, and Tassim has been absolutely phenomenal tonight, taking victory. So I think I'm going to go and give it to him.
Good stuff. It's a tricky one, and apologies for putting you on the spot, but you did well. You handled that very nicely, and I agree. Tassin had a really good day. It would be an honourable mention for me for both Pithaviers and Tassin. I think my driver of the day is probably going to go to. I really want to give it to Nopek, but I think an honourable mention for him and Ivanov for a very solid performance, getting into the 56s and qualifying. Led the race at the end, bold strategy to try and overtake, and boy, oh boy, did he have to do some overtaking after he came out of the pits. So overall, brilliant drive from Ivanov. But yeah, those are our driver of the day. Do let us know in chat who your driver of the day is for today's race. But that is going to round us out today for the GT3 Masters Season 10, sponsored by Pure Sim Gear here in the Formula Racing League. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you the action from the commentary box on behalf of 00 Raven Comms. It is myself, George Cook, and Rob Barker who've been bringing you the action tonight. We look forward to being back on September 14th for Valencia 60 Minutes. Going to be another great one. We're coming up to the end of Season 10. 2 races to go now, and the championship is heating up very much. We're going to be looking forward to seeing what's going on next week. But from here in the commentary box, big thank you to the organisers, big thank you to Formula Racing League, big thank you to Rob. Absolutely legendary stuff tonight, mate. And we'll round it out there. So thank you very much, everyone. Good evening, good night. We'll see you back here on this channel for GT3 Nightclub tomorrow, including more races. Keep an eye on all the information in all the channels that are available. We'll catch you later. Thank you very much. Good evening, good night, and goodbye.